George Lucas himself was drawing from many things, probably not wuxia itself, but he was drawing upon many aspects of things that he enjoyed, like Lord of the Rings and World War II fighter plane footage and Akira Kurosawa. He was drawing on so many different things for his movie, and then it became Star Wars, and it became this, you know, giant giant Goliath of a media thing. But the interesting thing about that is that when it became so big and all these other people started to make Star Wars things that weren't George Lucas, they were all inwardly looking at Star Wars itself. They were all referring to Star Wars itself as as their point of reference, and you see that in the J.J. Abrams movies specifically. They're all sort of just referring to Star Wars and the mythology and the prestige of Star Wars itself as a narrative, as the narrative thrust, right? Kylo Ren wants to be like the great Darth Vader. Rey wants to be like Han Solo or Luke, and it goes on and on. And the problem is they're drawing from a filter of a filter, right? Because George Lucas was drawing upon Akira Kurosawa. George Lucas was drawing upon Lord of the Rings and a bunch of other stuff, and then putting that all into Star Wars. But then, because Star Wars becomes this gigantic thing unto itself, people just refer to Star Wars as the thing when they're making the story. They're not getting influenced by anything exterior, just from the interior. And one of the brilliant things about The Mandalorian was that it went back to that feeling of it was drawing upon different things and creating something new. It was drawing upon westerns for The Mandalorian. It was drawing upon Koiki Kozuke. I'm not sure if I'm getting that name right. The manga Lone Wolf and Cub, right? Which some of you may have seen the movies of. It was drawing from all these different things and then creating something new and original, and that's what made it really fun, and that's why it felt really fresh. Dormot, and then you're going to give it to me? That's funny. Yeah, maybe not. Paper Joey Samurai films, they're basically copying tropes without knowing where it came from. Yeah. And okay, guys, so we're very close to wrapping things up today. I want to thank you all for hanging out with me, but this is the last thing. This is the last thing that I want to say. I've been talking about my days in art school and stuff like that, and that's actually a very good point there, Paper Joey. I often think about this conversation, this exchange that one of my instructors had with another student, one of my peers. So I'm not going yet. I just want to leave on this note. So this is very early on in my first year of college, second year actually. And I think all of us are just showing our instructor our artwork, our latest assignments, and this one student has like anime. He's pretty much just drawn like anime stuff for his assignment. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with I think that there was some teachers that kind of discouraged that, but my teacher kind of had an interesting take on it. He was looking at his assignment and it was all animated out and stuff. And he looked at it and he said, "So you really like this stuff, huh?" And the student was like, "Yeah, I like anime. I like this stuff. This is what I want to draw." And then he said, "If you really like it, I think you need to kind of set it aside and look at other things. Look at not even saying like look at other art styles, just look at different stuff, right? Because again, this one student was just so fixated on anime, right? He's like, read some books. Read some other books. Read some American comics. Watch some cartoons. Watch some American cartoons. Get inspired by literature. Get inspired by history. Get inspired by nature. And take all of those things and then come back to anime. Because if you do all that, you can come back to manga, you can come back to anime, you can come back to comics, and you'll be informed by different things. You'll have something to say about it through that style. And the same can be said about a similar conversation I was reading in Wizard magazine about Alan Moore and Watchmen. He was like, people took the wrong lessons from the Watchmen, because once the Watchmen came out, the comic came out in the 80s, everyone thought that is what comics should be now. Comics should be dark, they should be serious, they should be gritty and violent and sexy, right? But Alan Moore, the writer, the genius behind Watchmen, he said, like, that was the wrong lesson. I didn't want the comic industry to just turn into a bunch of Watchmen. I wanted people to say other things. The whole point of Watchmen was that you could say something different with comics than what we had been doing for years and years. You could tell a comedy, you could do something about history, you could tell a love story, you could do all these different things. But the lesson that the comic industry learned was it should all be violent and it should all just be Watchmen. And we're still feeling that to this day in the comic industries. Bacon, isn't that what happens to Gojo in My Dress Up Darling? Oh yeah. He's so caught up in the world of his dolls. And it's actually only until he kind of socializes and hangs out with Marin that he kind of understands how to bring like something else into his work, right? He's making costumes, he's making anime stuff and learning about makeup, and he takes all that information and puts it into his dolls, and then his grandfather looks at his dolls now and he sees that evolution, he sees that growth, and here we have cubes. Have I grown, guys? I don't know. There is still the cube, and I'm putting all my emotion, all my life experience into the cube. I don't know. I was looking for a way to end it. Yeah, that's going to do it for me, everyone. Thanks for hanging out. It's been fun. Just talking about nonsense.